There we go. Okay. If I don't do this, we can't get it on YouTube. So there's our problems. All right. We saw last week, who remembers the town we looked at last week?
Capernaum to the east.
Yes, absolutely. Capernaum, and then to the east, which is actually on, remember, Jesus kept calling it the other side. This city was on the other side. What was the name of it? Yes, please. Bethsaida, yes. So we had Bethsaida. So both of these towns, and this is what's been neat. We've been looking at these cities that are on the Sea of Galilee. I think it's also called Lake Gennesaret, Lake, is it Kinnereth, thank you. So you got different names, but it's the Sea of Galilee. And so what I wanted to do, I've got a number of things, and I hope we've got time to go through all of this, but just at the Sea of Galilee, things that have happened, things that were going on, and there is a ton of things that happen around this sea. So I want us to have an overview. Now, let's just go through a few of these. I was showing this to Ray. When I was here, we stayed down, I'm using the mouse, I should be using this, more on this side, coming down the lake at Gennesaret. Ray was up here at Tiberias. This is Tiberias. You're going to see several pictures just because this city, especially at night, is gorgeous. Now, I don't know what it's like in the city, but pictures from a distance look really nice. So let's just look at a few of these. That's it here. Now, this one, I don't know if you can even tell it. This is one of those panoramic shots. So this is actually right beside me. Pretty cool, I know. This is the piers, and then this is all the way around the east side and back around to Tiberias. So this is the whole thing, but it doesn't show. It's hard to get perspective. If you know me, you know that I'm a people person. I love being around people. And this is just some of the group. There's friends that I had made there. There, I love it. I love this picture, just Tiberias at night. And this city was there in Jesus' time. We never see anything said about Jesus going there, but it's literally a walk away. And it's a Roman city, obviously by the name, you can tell. But I am assuming, and I don't know if it's true, but I am assuming Jesus went here. This was a major city that was in this place. And I just loved the views and things that we had at this place. This was like a foursome that we just did a lot of things together. This is the one, Tim, that headed up all of our excursions that were not so smart, going into the old city at nighttime, through the Muslim quarters, through whatever. It was exciting. It was good. Story time, I'll leave you alone with this one. We were walking through the old city. I may have told you this. If I did, act like I didn't and be humoring me. But as we were walking, you can see this Chris here. He's 6'7" or so, big guy. We walk in these they're alleys, they're streets that you couldn't fit a car in. And we're walking around, and all of a sudden this group of kids comes barreling around a corner, and they ran into him. And they literally, just to see the expression, they hit him and they back up and they went like this. And then they run off saying some things in Arabic and laughing. I don't think it was very positive, but it was fun. But I enjoyed these times. It's a beautiful area. You can see just the scenery, how gorgeous it is. Now, I could run these in reverse and tell you that this was a sunset, but this is actually the sunrise. So just bear with it. I'll run through these quick. I like this because they're not clear in the sense of, I didn't have it on a tripod, but just so I like to see the progression as the sun comes up. And there happened to be this cloud cover. So we got one sunrise there and another one up here. Little things amuse little minds. So I enjoyed it. But this just kind of proves I was there. I like this 1 second explosion. But okay. Trying to make sure there. Few of them here. Anyways, these are some gorgeous areas. I enjoyed the getting to know people part. I enjoyed, the scenery, everything about it. I enjoyed learning about Jesus. But listen, if this is all that we get out of Israel, is learning some facts and seeing some beautiful things, then we failed. Because this is not what it's about. I want us to learn very clearly. We're going to see this in a minute, that this area that Jesus walked, this area was, Jesus picked it for his reasons to teach a lot of truths. And the Sea of Galilee was no exception. Now, I need to make sure I'm at the right place here coming up. Okay. Now, I told you, we may have seen this last week. We're going to look at it one more time. Ray was mentioning how the area he stayed in down at Tiberias had none of this mess in it. Ours had like a little wildlife preserve outside of it. So we had a lot of this, a lot of animals in it that were beautiful. The trees and stuff were just gorgeous. So it was a gorgeous area. But here's an overview.
Okay, this is the Sea of Galilee. The days that we were out here, took one of the boat rides out. It was several things that are interesting. They found one of the fishing boats from the time period of Jesus, and there are some pictures that are also up there on this. You can see those. But the size of it was fairly small, fairly large jungle. It was huge. And to get across the lake takes up part of the sea. So getting across, we're looking at about here to the other side there, it's about 7 miles. And then north to south, we're looking at about 13 miles. One of the things that was concerning to several of us is how you could actually have something this small, have the storms cause such damage. There's another video got out where there was no storm, but just a little wind, and the waves were kicking up to the point where it would be very hard to manage one of those boats just with that little bit of wind. So this is where most of Jesus' time was spent, was around this sea. Across that side would have been the Gentile side. That would have been the area over here is where the maniac Gadara in that area would have had the demons cast out. Down in this area would have been the Decapolis. So a lot happening around this one body of water. It was very exciting to watch.
Okay, I'm going to show you one other one. I'm going to show you one other one here that is our guide giving his take on it and some things that were around there. Fote, I'm going to leave it on here and let you just go through it because he got me in this section. Fote was really good about saying, you'll see this, and you say, if you say no, he would, what, it's just wait here, and he'd get kind of excited. Well, so everybody would say yes, but I wanted to know what he was talking about, and I said, where is this? And so he kind of embarrassed me a little bit, bringing me up, but that's Fote, so just live with that part. But this is his take on this same lake. And while we're watching this, Grayson, why don't you come up and grab our rock and pass that around, let everybody see that. This is, and before he passes this around, just hold on to it, you can show it to him from up here, okay? You remember when we were at Capernaum and we saw the temple that they called it the White Temple, but the base of it was all black? It had the black rocks. Notice that when you see this rock came from right around that, came from inside. I went down in the lake and got it. So, but notice the black. So whether or not this is like one that was there, I don't know, but it definitely looks like it. So go ahead and pass that around. Thanks, buddy.
We came all the way from the west side. So this is here the west side. This is the place also where we spent our first night. The west side during the time of the Lord, while the side where the Jewish people were. And the other side, and this is what the Lord used to do at the other side. Every single time in the Bible, you will hear the Lord who said, let's go to the other side. He means by the other side, the eastern side of the Sea of Galilee, or the southern Jordan Heights, or as we put it, the Gentile world. Because during that side, east and west, two different people. West Jewish, east Gentile. And this is how the sea was divided between Jews and between Gentiles. as you heard the story here, one was looking for here, the Lord is the more critical place, but this is the place where we can see first of all, it lives of Israel. This mountain is lives of Israel. This is the site where we go after the outside of the museum. If you look to the right of the cliffs, there's a valley. This valley is here the valley of the God. This is here the main highway, which is part of the Via Maris, between the town of the Lord. This highway is to connect in this particular part, Nazareth with Capernaum. If we also try to go clockwise from the area of the Via Maris or from the area of the valley, we can see all the way, we can see within the I just asked my brother here, the Captain Louis, to turn the boat to show you 60 degrees around its gallery. So first of all, if we just look all the way to my left side, you can see there's a mountain. Halfway of the mountain, it's covered with white fence. Can you see it? Yes? This is here mark of the attitudes, the settlement of the mountain. From that place, if you go all the way down to the seashore, you can see a black building with a red roof. Can you see it? Yes? This is the promise of Peter, the place where the Lord appeared at the side of the third time after the resurrection. To the right of it, and try to go to the right side, you can see the place where we have the Capernaum. So Capernaum will be just to the right of this spot. It's not there, the boat. Can you see the boat? Just behind the boat, this will be the place where Capernaum is found, where the town of the Lord, the place where the Lord, he stayed during his ministry. Then you could just start now going all the way to the other side. So we've got to get towards Bethsaida, the place where the Lord, he healed blind man and also needed persons, right? And the place where Peter, Philip, and Andrew they are from. Peter, Philip, and Andrew, they are not from Capernaum, they are from Bethsaida. Then we can go to the other side, the place where we can see the cliff. Then the side where the Lord Jesus Christ, he healed the demonic person, the one with the demons, the nature. It's the place where the story is born. Then we can go all the way to the southern tip of the Sea of Galilee. The southern tip is the place where the river Jordan was trying to lead out from the sea, making the way through the valley to a place of the dead. Then we can see a city here. This city is called Tiberias. This is the city of Tiberias. By the way, Tiberias was the only presence for the Gentiles at the west side during the time of the Lord Jesus Christ. So this is now here the city of Tiberias, the one built by Herod Antipas, and he called it Tiberias to honor the Caesar at that time, Tiberias. And then you'll go back to the resort and this is here 360 degrees around the Sea of Galilee. Any questions before I will simplify you to the team? Like it is just right here. If you look to my left hand side, you can see a mountain. And if you look at the mountain halfway, it's covered with white fence. Can you see it? No, you are looking at the look, can you look to me? Look to me. Come here. Let's make it. So don't give us anything to say for because this is the VIP. Look between, okay, look between these two different poles. Just right there, there's the mountain halfway, it's covered with white net, from something like this. Can you see it? Big one. Thank you. Please, Jesus, forgive him, he doesn't know what he was saying. Yes, Richard? Okay, so, before. Kasi the balloon, now.
That was our guide. Yes, and he was like that constantly. Most people I can take him. I was fine with it. Some of the people got really bent out of shape. They could not handle him, but it was okay. It was good. So, he does, but it is what it is. But this is the boat, don't judge me. There were some times this is a big area that you saw him talking in right here. They showed us at one point this Israeli dance thing where they have everybody hold hands and you come in and you say something and you go back out, whatever it is. But it was fun. But this was a large boat. This is way bigger. And we'll see that in a minute, way bigger than what the fishing boats were like. So something like this could handle the waves. It could handle the problems. The fishing boats they had could not handle the problems. And again, we'll see it. So that's the area. That was one of the other boats that was out. Wasn't quite as nice, but this gives you an idea. And I do like that in the background you have this. This is the Mount of Beatitudes. And I've mentioned this before, but this area right here is like a natural amphitheater so that you can stand down here and talk at my tone of voice, and you can hear it up here on the top. And that area would hold tens of thousands. It's a huge orchard right now. And that part is good to see. There. This is just a view around. Going around just another 360. Just to see again how close all of these things are. That's the point that I wanted to push with this, was the closeness of where everything was. And it was, come on, there we go. Another shot with Tiberius, and they did this with everybody. If you were from China, they put up a China flag. Here, you know, they put it up with the Israeli flag every time. So they seem to really enjoy this. And I did a number of these the round shots. Where did it go? That doesn't look right.
Is it really hot out there?
Like 105, 110. My nose was leather when I got done because I didn't have my hat. Okay, that's coming around towards the north. There. Okay, we're just going to stop there just a second. How many of you were in Sunday school this morning? Okay, if you weren't, shame on you. Go home. Pete was mentioning, you were here. All right. Pete was mentioning when the ruler of Egypt came through, and I just had a brain freeze. Josiah decided, I'm gonna be a tough guy, and he decided to stand against Egypt, which is not a wise move. But you know, sometimes I used to wonder why. Why did he have to come through here? Well, that's why. This area, you're going to hear this word a lot, the Via Maris. That is the highway that connected Egypt, comes up through Israel, goes right up through this area, through this Valley of the Dove, and then goes up to Nazareth and on up to the north. You have to have that area. That's the way through. And so looking at it from Josiah's point of view, that was their defense. If that area got compromised, the nation would be totally wiped out. This was a huge deal to have that area totally under Israeli control. And so they would have been paranoid, should have let Israel pass through, but this was the road. And that's this valley here. This is where Megiddo is. So right down here is Gennesaret, and then right over there would be your Capernaum and your Bethsaida. The Via Maris passes right through it, and that is exactly where this king of Egypt wasn't king. What was his name? What was his title? Pharaoh Necho. That's where he would have passed through, coming through this Via Maris. So that was a neat. That Via Maris comes into play a lot. Immortalize the video again. Okay, just proves I was there. I was not somewhere else. So I enjoyed times with friends. I enjoyed these, and we got along great. I'll probably be seeing them on vacation, but this is that place. And we're going to go up here with a number of pictures, but it's never mentioned in scripture. The Mount Arbel is never mentioned. But what we do have is many times Jesus saying that he went up to a mountain alone to pray. This was a very desolate area. And if you wanted to be alone, you would go to the top of one of these places. And it was barren, and it was beautiful, but it was a very barren area. This again, Beatitudes. This is across the sea. And we're going to be looking at some of these passages in just a moment. Which number? 12. This is it. Let's go ahead and read for a second. We enough people have verses already. Matthew 8, 23 to 27. Who has that one? Okay, go ahead.
When he got into the boat, his disciples followed him. And behold, there arose a great storm on the sea, so that the boat was being covered with the waves. But Jesus himself was asleep. And they came to him and woke him, saying, "Save us, Lord, we are perishing." He said to them, "Why are you afraid, you men of little faith?" Then he got up and rebuked the wind and the sea, and it became perfectly calm. The men were amazed and said, "What kind of man is this? But even the wind and the sea obey him."
So you've got Jesus on this boat ride. And after this incident, where again, he's allowed storms to come on this lake. We're going to go past that in just a second. Let me ask this question. Jesus allowed those storms. He was asleep. Could he have made it so that the storms did not come? Yes. Why allow storms? To test, and let's go one step further than that. He does want to test. What else does he want to do with our faith? He wants to increase our faith. Is there any difference between Jesus allowing a storm with his disciples on that body of water and him allowing storms in our lives? I'm going to say there is no difference. He allows hardships, he allows trials, he allows hard things that we don't get to come into our lives to build our faith. If everything goes my way, there's not going to be a lot of growth happening. I need, because of my weakness, to be forced to turn to my Lord and to be able to have to stand and say, Lord, we need you. We're going to perish. We're going to die. And Jesus wasn't sweating. Jesus was not concerned, so to speak, about the situation. He was concerned about his disciples' faith, just as he's concerned about our faith. And he used that body of water to help build his disciples, who in turn helped build the church. This is a beautiful place. This picture here, I took this. This is, you remember when we looked across the water to the other side, and we saw as we looked over there, that one area, that's it. This is the area where he would have gone over and cast the demons out of the demoniac. And where did the demons go? Any kids know the answer to this? Jesus cast the demons out of the demoniac, where did he allow those demons to go to? One of you kids, tell me.
What?
Say that again. To the pigs. They wanted to go to the pigs, didn't they? Anybody remember, kids, how many pigs there were? Oh, there's a whole lot more than that. No, a whole lot. You keep going and we'll stay here all night. Adults, anybody remember? A couple of thousand?
Oh, really?
Okay, bunches and bunches of pigs. I was thinking about that today, and I'm thinking, okay, we got pigs rushing down, going over a cliff into this body of water that's only 7 miles wide and only 13 miles long. Can you imagine 2,000 pig corpses floating with the current, going down the Bethsaida, going down the Jordan River, going down to the Dead Sea? That'd have been a sight. And you can just picture, where did all these pigs come from? And then being told about what Jesus did. And the stories that would have carried, no pun intended with the carrying, but that story would have carried based on what he allowed to happen. And I was just thinking about that this afternoon, how, God can use things that seemingly look disastrous, and he can use them for positive in our lives. Let's look now at two passages, Luke 5 and John 21. Start with the Luke 5.
Luke 5, 1 through 21.
1 through 11. You're off the hook if I wrote it that bad. I'm sorry.
So it was as the multitude pressed about him to hear the word of God, that he stood by the lake of
Gennesaret.
and saw two boats standing by the lake. But the fishermen had gone from them and were washing their nets. Then he got into the boat, which was Simon's, and asked him to put out a little from the land. Then he sat down and taught the multitude from the boat. When he had stopped speaking, he said to Simon, launch out into the deep and let down your nets for a catch. But Simon answered and said to him, Master, we have toiled all night and caught nothing. Nevertheless, at your word, I will let down the net. And when they had done this, they caught a great number of fish, and their net was breaking. So they signaled to their partners in the boat to come and help them. And they came and filled both boats so that they began to sink. When Simon Peter saw it, he fell down at Jesus' knees, saying, depart from me, for I am a sinful man, O Lord. For he and all who were with him were astonished to catch a fish which they had taken. And so also were James and John and the son of Zebedee, who were partners with Simon. And Jesus said to Simon, do not be afraid. From now on, you will catch men. So when they had brought their boats to land, they forsook all and followed him.
Okay, and John 21, 3-6.
Simon Peter said to them, I am going fishing. They said to him, we are going to do also. They went out and immediately got into the boat. That night they got nothing. But in the morning, now come, Jesus stood on the shore. Yet the disciples did not know that it was Jesus. Then Jesus said to them, children, have you any food? They answered him, no. And he said to them, cast the net on the right side of the boat, and you will find some. So they cast, and now they were not able to draw it in because of the multitude of fish.
So we have in these verses, and we're going to see the size of the boat in a few minutes. I told you the one that you saw was not anywhere near what they had, but we'll see that in just a minute. But here's the point with those two passages. What Jesus asked them to do, the first passage was at the beginning of his ministry. The second passage was at the end. And both times he says, go out and do something that makes no sense. I want you to go out, cast your net on the other side. What? These are professional fishermen. They knew how to fish. They knew the fish are here or here. It doesn't make any difference, but they did what Jesus said to do. He asked them to do things even though it didn't make sense. So Jesus said to do something odd. Again, the point that Jesus pushed again at this lake is he had them do things to build their faith. He wanted their faith built. He wanted them exercising it. And that's exactly what we need to be doing today. We need to follow his plans. We need to follow him. And sometimes it may not make human sense. And the world may not get it. But he wants our faith being built. Now there's one I put in here, and I don't remember how far down I've got it. Again, that's another one of I really liked going up here. I took several pictures of this one. Okay. This one I just call it my fishing video. So enjoy it. It's not, it's decent. This is one of, I think these guys aren't Israeli. I think these were Arabs who just ran the fishing boats. And I'll just say this, these are the ones, they're there to make money. They're there, as soon as we got onto the boat, Pote informed us they're selling things. This is how they make a living, buy stuff from them, etc. So they're making money. But the thing that they did is they would customize their CD, which one they used, based on who was getting on that boat, whether it be German, Chinese, whatever. But for the Americans, it was just like the shallowness of the songs that they put on their CDs just appalls me. And that's because most Americans like it. They like the shallow. And it bothered me that is what an unsaved Arab thought of American Christianity. And unfortunately, they're right. As a nation, we are shallow in our Christianity. And I don't want that to be said about us. But as a nation, he's right. So you can just see the fishing part.
Ship, the disciples follow him. Behold, there
That's not the fishing part. There you go. So kids, now you're gonna learn how to fish.
I prefer to start in Chinese, 1, 2, 3 Chinese. You know, but then something to do. Ding, ding, now.
You good?
I don't know if there's fish left in that place or not.
I wonder if it looked like this when it was really happening, with everybody videoing. That's authentic.
I think nothing, because something, because you are counting in English. The fish, they don't speak English. So if you want to count in English, you'll say five,
Nine.
See you. Huh? Five,
Nine.
so, when you count in English, so we can get something, right? This is it. This is not in English, we have to. This is it.
Nine.
I have a feeling that we can.
That's like only 150 feet deep. Yeah. No one didn't know it. That's surprising. It is.
Like 150 feet deep. It's the high, the low point is like 150, 160 feet, and that's it. You notice his buddy just came to help. Couldn't have happened to a better guy. Okay. What we got for time? 6:55. I had recorded this for Chris because he was doing a challenge, just like I wanted mine recorded when I was at Nazareth, and I didn't get it, so I was recording his so he would have it. But I'm gonna, no, it's 4 minutes that we'll go. So I'll go ahead and just go through his, because he's going through some of these same passages that we're using.
Oh, there arose great tempest, and one of the ship was covered with waves, but he was asleep. And his disciples came to him and woke him, saying, Lord.
Okay, let's read one passage before we watch this one. Matthew 14:22-33. Who has that? Yeah.
Immediately Jesus bade his disciples get into the boat and go before him to the other side while he sent the multitude away. And when he had sent the multitude away, he went up on the mountain by himself to pray. Now when evening came, he was alone there. Oh, there was a retreat. But the boat was now in the middle of the sea, tossed by the waves, for the wind was contrary. Now in the fourth watch of the night, Jesus went to them, walking on the sea. And when the disciples saw him walking on the sea, they were troubled, saying, it is a ghost. And they cried out for fear. But immediately Jesus spoke to them, saying, be of good cheer. It is I. Do not be afraid. And Peter answered him and said, Lord, if it is you, command me to come to you on the water. So he said, come. And when Peter had come down out of the boat, he walked on the water to go to Jesus. But when he saw that the wind was boisterous, he was afraid. And beginning to sink, he cried out, saying, Lord, save me. And immediately Jesus stretched out his hand and caught him and said to him, oh, you of little faith, why did you doubt? And when they got into the boat and the wind ceased, then those who were in the boat came and worshiped him, saying, truly, you are the Son of God.
So before, when we saw the storm get calmed, Jesus was asleep on the boat. He was with them. Now he's not with them. He has sent them ahead. He's back praying. He went up into a mountain to be alone. They are in the middle of that sea. They would have probably been down almost near the Capernaum and Bethsaida, down on that south end of the sea. So the storm comes, they're getting whipped around, and Jesus comes walking out on the water. Now, if you remember, they were scared. They were afraid. And I would say part of the reason they're going to be so scared is Jesus isn't with them. And as I was reading that and thinking about that phrase or that idea of him not being there with them, there's a lot of times, and maybe you hadn't been there much, but I felt like that sometimes. You know, where is Jesus in this? I'm going through a lot and I feel like I'm alone. And we need to, as we talked about in the service this morning, we need to understand that we need to recall God's promises to our minds. We need to actively think on him, on who he is, on what he's done, on what he's doing. And we need to actively remember him and remember that his promises never fail. You can take him to the bank. Our Lord will never leave us. He will never forsake us. And it doesn't matter how bad things get. He's right there with us. And somebody had shared, I forgot where I heard this, but it's the idea that Jesus doesn't take away our trials. He didn't come to this earth to take away the hard things. He came to participate in them. He came to join us in the messy, sinful stuff that we go through. He came to walk it, and now he can be our great high priest. He's experienced, so to speak, there's no temptation taken us. He has experienced it. And I just forgot the reference with Hebrews, but he's gone through everything that we will ever be able to endure. And he can feel our infirmities. So that's an encouragement for us. So this message from Chris will give us just a little bit more of that.
Save us, we perish. He said unto them, why are you fearful, O ye of little faith? And he rose, rebuked the wind and the sea, and there was a great calm. The men marveled, saying, what manner of man is this, that even the wind and the sea obey him? Hold that thought and go to Matthew 14. Clearly, Jesus constrained the disciples to get into a ship and to go before us to the other side. Well, they sent the multitudes away. When he had sent the multitudes away, he went up with the mountain part. When the evening was come, he was there alone. But now the ship was now in the midst of the sea, tossed with waves, so the wind was contrary. And the fourth watch of the night, Jesus went unto them, walking on the sea. And when his disciples saw him walking on the sea, they were troubled, saying, it is a spirit, and they cried out to him. But straightway Jesus spake unto them, saying, be of good cheer, it is I, be not afraid. And Peter answered him and said, Lord, if be thou bid me come unto thee on the water. And he said, come. When Peter was come down out of the ship, he walked in the water to go to Jesus. This is where I pause, man, for all of you. Anyone want to volunteer someone else? So it's too early in the script. Who volunteer, Dad? You want to volunteer? trouble went with this. He was afraid and beginning to sink, he cried, and the Lord saved him. And immediately he started to work his hand and thought and sat up there, both out of the old field. Therefore he thought that. When they were coming to the ship, the wind ceased. Then they that were in the ship came and worked for his name of a truth, thou art the Son of God. Thinking through this, I don't have the ability to get real gripping from my own. I think the area maybe I'll see that on its own, scripture on do that too. But it made me think of a couple things. I'm talking to Rick about this, we're here in Israel, but we have to remember proximity is not enough. The disciples were near to Jesus. That wasn't enough for them to be near to him. We need proximity, we need closeness to Jesus, and in this sense, even physical sense, like here. It's not the goal on its own. Amazement isn't even enough. We need amazement when we think of Christ, but it's not enough on its own. It's not the goal. What was the goal of both of these accounts? The goal is faith. What we're doing today is pointless and maybe even harmful, I think, if it's seen as a means of grace to the Holy Man, or maybe even as a good luck card in a sense. You know, riding where Christ walked. You don't get to say that too often, but that's what we're doing right now. It is incredible, it's special, it's memorable. But if we see him more without believing in him more, we're missing the point. You know, the next time the storm comes in our lives, if you know, we were going to have a chance, how do we be able to say, well done, good and faithful servant, or why do you do it? This is an incredible time. There's no denying it. But seeing these things and walking where we're walking, riding here, sitting in the middle of the Sea of Galilee, as incredible as it is, if we miss the point of this how to drive our faith and then increase the faith in Jesus Christ more, and we're missing it. My prayer is we get it. And this just establishes, confirms, deepens our faith, and it's what should be happening. How about we were just listening to how great the Lord is?
Okay, I am not gonna play that song that we sang because I have the video and all you hear is me singing bass, and I didn't like hearing me. So we did sing it, and that's good. So here's what I want. This is the part we're gonna end with. This is a boat that was uncovered when there was a little bit of a drought. The water level came down, and this boat had been submerged in sand. They found artifacts and things around it that confirmed this was from the time of Jesus. So this is a very much a replica, not a replica. It is an original of what Jesus would have been in, is what his disciples would have been in. And if you're like me, you look at this picture, you're thinking, you know, that's looking at it, it could be this big. You know, you can't tell from a picture, but just to give you a frame of reference, you're going to see some more pictures. The width of this boat is almost 8 feet. The length of this boat is about 27 feet. That's not a big boat. When you start talking about having multiple men, when you talk about having 153 fish come up out of the water and get into a 27 by 8 foot boat, it's not that big. So this will give you just an idea of what they had. I was kind of amazed at this model or this thing they set up to put it in. And I wanted this picture on here because this show, Cote is not that big. He's probably, you know, like 5'8", 5'9", not a tall guy, but this shows you a little bit of perspective of this boat versus one of us. So it's again 8 by 27, and that was a major find. I don't know if I have the pictures on here or not. Okay, I don't have the pictures on there. When they had to move this thing, they dug it out and they had to somehow carry it. And what they're going to do is float it. They ended up spraying a foam all the way around this boat. It was a big piece of foam with that in the middle of it. And they floated it down the Sea of Galilee to where this museum is, took it out, got rid of the foam, and the wood's still there. So it protected the wood so they could float it down. I thought that was a pretty neat way that they did this. Now, when you see a boat that's only 8 foot wide, and you've got multiple men sitting in that, you can imagine what a storm would do. And I think I showed you this video. This was not a storm. This is just a little bit of wind kicked up. It would have swamped that boat. If you got kicked sideways, it could swamp a boat. These waves were just from a little bit of a wind starting. So you can imagine if a storm came down like off of that mountain range, what it would have done to this. We wanted to see that. I wanted to get on that thing in one of those other boats during a storm and get whipped around a little bit. That, to me, that would have been exciting, but it didn't happen. Obviously, I'm still here. So this is how they dated the thing. They did use some carbon-14. They didn't find that very reliable, but they found other artifacts around it. These are some of the artifacts that they found around that thing, being one of the lamps and just some nails that were from the time period. And this, there it is. I did have it on here. There's how they surrounded that with that foam so that they could float it down the lake. And that just gives you a better idea of the people around it, how many people that boat would have held. But again, it's not, come on, there we go. It's not that big of a boat to put 8, 9 guys in. So it would have been causing a lot of issues. So that's why I've taken a picture of this. I thought it was very helpful to understand it. And then we ended with this one. That's just one of their monument things that shows the outline of the lake. So that being said, what are some truths we can learn from the Sea of Galilee? Give me one. And yes, you can repeat me.
I thought it was interesting, Gentiles and Jews on each side.
And it's very segregated. You didn't cross when Jesus crossed over and he would say, let's go to the other side. You can almost picture when he said, let's go to the other side, the 12 going, are you kidding me? Us go over to them? But Jesus cared about us. And he's willing to go to the other side. He's willing to rescue us. I'm thankful for that. And that is a good picture for us.
So what's that picture?
This is the lake or the sea. So you've got the northern side. This would be the Jordan coming in, and then this would be your Gentile. This would be your, I may have that backwards. East, yeah, east. This would be your Jewish. This would be your Gentile, and then coming down and going down to the Dead Sea. It's just a monument thing they've made that we'd stopped. It was a place where we had stopped.
The east was the
For a
Gentiles,
lunch.
right? The Jews, the west.
Yes. Listen to what I mean, not what I say. Yes. What else?
Keep forgetting how small everything is there. Like everything more sweeping. You're looking on a map, and you're seeing Tiberias, Gennesaret, Capernaum, Bethsaida, and you can see them all across the lake. I mean, it's all so close.
It's closer to get from on this map, it's closer to get from, say, Capernaum up to Tiberias than it would be pretty much to drive from Huntingburg to Jasper. It's really close. And then there's multiple cities and towns in between.
For a long time we had to walk.
Yeah, but still you're looking at,
Yeah.
an hour. So we talk about Jesus being all these places. He had to walk an hour, maybe even 2 hours. Not a big deal, especially for them. They wouldn't, that's their life. For them, that would have been a very easy thing to do. But yet the size constraint, that really pointed out a lot when I was there, just seeing how small everything was. What else do we see?
Kind of incredible when you show that little bit of wind with that bit of that sea and then you think of the storm, how frightening that would be.
It would be. So I've always thought of the storms, I think it was Pete was showing me some pictures of up at one of the lakes. And the wave, I didn't realize the Great Lakes had all, it looks waves like an ocean, and I had no idea. So when I would think of the Sea of Galilee, I would think of a lake that would have these massive waves, and it's a little bitty thing. It's not big at all. But the storm comes down, I would have loved to have seen it. But that was a good eye opener to see just that little bit of wind kick things up. I like the fact too that just seeing what Jesus did on that lake. It was not enough that they were with him. It wasn't enough that they were learning about him. Jesus wanted their faith growing. He wanted them becoming more like him. And the way that we become more like him is through going through hard times. It's going through trials. It's having to lean on him and trust him. And I appreciate that Jesus was willing to allow those he loved to go through these times so that he could grow them. And he loves us that much. He loves us enough to allow us to go through tough times and to walk with us through those times and to help to grow us. Another thing that for me, and this is a personal thing, I really did enjoy, again, I'm a social thing, and I enjoyed my time getting to make friends, to have companionship there, that just to have that camaraderie that we had. I enjoyed seeing the beauty. I enjoyed, all these different things. That is all of our focus, then we're messed up. We've got a problem. Even today, it's not that those things are bad, but we can put an inordinate affection on things of this earth that are really good things and take our mind off of Jesus. And we need to have our focus on Jesus, not on the stuff of this world. And that was a encouraging thing for me to be making sure I'm practicing that. The one clip that we put on there as far as the I'll make you fishers of men. When we're seeing that fishing, Peter and James and John, they were successful. They were probably fairly rich. They had people working for them doing this fishing. These guys had kind of arrived, but nothing, whatever temporal success you have, nothing is to be compared with the idea of being fishers of men. To being able to have that joy of being used of God to help direct someone to a saving relationship with Jesus. And we need to keep our focus on that. That's what Jesus wants. He wants us to be involved in that disciple-making process. And we need to be actively doing that. So questions, comments?
I think it's neat how, I don't know, only a God mind could think like this, but how we just, all the parables that we have and all the stories behind them, the bread of life that we talked about this morning, the fishes of men, just how we used everything to help explain it to simple minds,
Like mine.
But then it wasn't just that. It was like, wow, the vastness, how deep, how wide, just in this one parable or whatever the case. It's like story of the cross or the bread of life or the living water. I mean, it just cool how we use parables to explain things.
Absolutely. Okay. My goal next week is I'd like for us to be able to look at Caesarea Philippi. So right now we are down, that was one of my favorite places. Right now we're down on the Sea of Galilee. That's still kind of the northern section, but this is going to be further north. And look it up. Look up Caesarea Philippi. And there's a key phrase that he uses there about his church and how victorious his church will be. So look at that for next week. And that is where we'll end. Hold tight.